We've heard some tough points of view in doing business here in Los Angeles, and today you're going to hear some facts from LegalZoom CEO John Suh, who called LA's bluff, and he uprooted his business and he moved next door to Glendale.
I love Los Angeles. I love California. I'm a diehard Lakers fan. And we were dragged kicking and screaming out of Los Angeles. The city of LA has an unusual gross receipts tax. And Eric Garcetti was absolutely fantastic in trying to help us through this particular issue. But he was actually blocked by other members of city government. So even within the government, they were having a lot of problems. Over 2 years, we tried to fight this issue, and eventually we had to relocate because they were deciding whether they should tax us over $1 million over the period of our lease for being in the city of LA. And we did the natural thing. We relocated a few miles outside of it, saved over $1 million. Glendale was amazing. We built out this office from scratch, and the landlord paid for it all. Millions of dollars to pay for us to relocate as a premier tenant at Glendale. What politicians have to realize is businesses have choices. They think we're bluffing, they think nothing will change. But when a business is faced in this environment with $1 million of incremental taxes, and it's the best possible time to renegotiate your lease, businesses can and have relocated. Out of the city of Los Angeles is kind of the microcosm, but more importantly, moving out of California. And we got to fix this problem. We're a mess.
Joining us now, our series producer and all of this, Heidi Kuda, and I'm going to pick up on what John Suh just said, which is that it moves us out of state, not just out of town. But let's start with out of town, Heidi. This seems to be kind of a dress rehearsal for Los Angeles. In this case, yes, they lost the business to Glendale. Right. But California still wins because we did keep their headquarters. But what does this mean LA has to do?
Well, LA has to be watching the series #1 and listening to the voice of these business leaders. John Suh saved $2 million by moving 4 miles north. That's huge numbers. 320 employees he took with him, and this isn't minimum wage stuff. These are skilled people buying lunches and going to, lunch, and just the whole ripple effect of what the city loses and what Glendale gains is phenomenal.
And the city of Los Angeles forced him to spend $100,000 in legal fees, which I think is hilarious when you consider they're a legal company. Not hilarious, but ironic, to fight the city of L.A. So not only did L.A. force them out, L.A. cost them money to engage in the argument.
And this is a guy who didn't want to leave. This was an L.A. boy, liked riding the metro to go to the Lakers games, but he, looked at Glendale and said, look, they're not only going to pay for the build-out, they're going to invest their own $1 million to pay for the build-out. He gets a dream, venue right there in Glendale, but this is, what you have to do.
All right, and he and his company are building in Texas as well, because Texas is much more hospitable right now than California.
Yep.
What are we going to see tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're going to hear why this LA boy who wanted to stay in California is growing his company in Austin. Part of that is the $500,000 check that Austin cut them in cash to say, come to us. The other half is $500,000 in just incentives to come. LA has so much to learn. And trying to get a gross receipt tax from them in $1 million, LA lost millions in revenue.